Alright, so we got the 265 spoilers, and we're seeing what Yuji's domain expansion is in this chapter, or at least, kind of. And we're also randomly getting confirmation on the fate of Nobara, which is interesting, and we'll talk about that. But first, coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Yuji and Sakuna finally going like one-on-one, seemingly the ending of the fight, with Yuji unable to cleanly land his soul-cutting cleave on Sakuna until it got to the point of where he remembered what Gojo told him about domain expansions and how the sure hit of it can have his technique applied to it. So he figured that if he activated a domain expansion and had his soul-cutting cleave as the sure hit, then he'd be able to hit Sakuna. So he activates his domain expansion, and suddenly they're like transported to a different place, and Sakuna looks like he does when he possesses Yuji, and Yuji looks like they're about to go to school or something. And now we're seeing what happened. So as they stroll through a city, Sakuna realizes what's happening with him. A rare phenomenon when Yuji connects with a sorcerer during a battle. Sakuna asks if this is Yuji's domain, and Yuji says he wanted to talk with Sakuna for a bit. So that's really interesting. I wonder if Sakuna is talking about those weird connections that Yuji had with Choso and Todo. We actually talked about this in the previous chapter review as well, about how when Yuji was going against Choso and Todo for the first time, it eventually got to the point where they were seeing like false memories of themselves with Yuji. And that was never really explained by Gege, but he did acknowledge it when he was asked about it in an interview. And now even Sakuna is questioning like, hey, is this what that was? Like, what are you doing? And Yuji's response is that he simply just wants to talk to Sakuna for a bit. But going more into that exchange of dialogue, Sakuna's like, what is this? Is this really your domain? And Yuji says, shut up. I was desperate, so I don't even know what this is. I wanted to come talk to you. Come on, let's talk for a bit. So that's really interesting. Apparently Yuji doesn't even know what it, quote unquote, is. I mean, clearly it is his domain expansion, since we saw him activated at the end of the previous chapter with, him straight up saying domain expansion. So I guess he's kind of just making it on the fly. Regardless, it is, as Sakuna describes it here, a phenomenon. So it's almost kind of similar to what Takaba does with his comedian curse technique. At least the application that we saw of it when he was going against Kenjaku. This is the closest thing to that, right? Because now that Yuji is with Sakuna here, they're not fighting. Like, Sakuna could fight him, I guess, but he's like not. He, for some reason, knows that he should talk to Yuji and go along with this for some reason. As they go through an underground passage, Yuji starts narrating Sakuna about his childhood. Yuji says, I was born in Sendai, but I lived around here when I was 6 or 7 years old until I moved back to Sendai because of my gramps' work. Okay, we're getting into Yuji's backstory here, which sounds weird, since he's the MC, but we haven't really got too much into his backstory as you would think that we would. Going further, Yuji says that I came back after 10 years to attend my grandpa's friend's funeral. I wouldn't say there was a huge drop in the population, but I was still surprised. I wonder if that guy would come to attend the funeral if my grandpa died first. Sakuna is speechless to hear Yuji yap. Yuji then takes Sakuna to a park where he used to play. And he says, all the play equipment is gone, but when I got my legs stuck in the swing, I thought I was going to die, but it can't be helped, I guess. Yuji then spots a flower and says, hey, it's an asagao. And Sakuna says, it's an ajisai, moron. And Yuji says, hey, I know that. It was just a careless miss. I noticed once I moved to Sendai, but these grew a lot around here. I wonder who decides the types of street trees. But I didn't know that you would know flowers' names. When Yuji asks how did he know about the flowers, Sakuna says it's probably from Megumi's memories. Then Yuji realizes that Sakuna must know about all of these places since he was in Yuji's body. But Sakuna rebukes him, saying that it's a waste to read useless memories. Yuji then takes Sakuna to catch some crawfish, and he says, here, you try it too. Or the strongest sorcerer can't catch a crawfish. Sakuna says, shut up. Sakuna catches one, but they start to fight about who caught a better crawfish. Sakuna says yours is smaller, and Yuji says yours is an American crawfish, mine's is a Japanese one, mine's is rare. Yuji says this department store opened when I was like 5. All the independent stores went out of business thanks to it. I'm sad that the shopping district became shuttered, but I forgive them because there's a movie theater above here. It's an overall gray countryside, but if you look, it's as everyone says, green as far as the eye can see. I used to catch locusts as much as I can in rice fields, but I don't see them around lately. Did the pesticides evolve or something? Horses are great. No matter how many times I see them, their heads always seem bigger than I remember. My gramps used to take me to this farm from time to time. When I think of it now, he really did things for me as if he was my real parent. Yuji and Sakuna then play archery, and Sakuna shoots a perfect 10. Yuji says, darn, you're really not cute at all. Sakuna says, of course, I'm more experienced than you. Well, that makes sense, I guess. Sakuna is from the era when archery was common. It then starts to snow, and Yuji tells Sakuna about the time when he used to shovel in the morning, how he loved drinking hot milk tea. Yuji says during a Christmas he once heard the sound of bells at night and had believed that Santa truly exists, only to find out that it was the sound of some chains on a car. Sakuna gets fed up of Yuji's talks. Sakuna says, hey, get to the point already. And Yuji says, fine. I think I've already showed you what I wanted to show you anyways. Sakuna says, it's all messy and disgusting. What are you trying to say? So after this point, Yuji goes on to have this monologue, and we see the deceased characters that are close to him throughout the series. And it shows his grandfather, Junpei, Nanami, Choso, Gojo, Mahito, and then Nobara, which I guess means that Nobara is, straight up dead, unfortunately. In case anybody was waiting for her to come back in these last couple chapters, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But I'll go more into what Yuji and Sakuna ultimately wind up talking about at the end of the chapter here, but coming into the end, as they're sitting and talking, Sakuna's like, are you pitying me? Are you trying to show me sympathy? And Yuji suddenly turns hostile as he declares, that's right, Sakuna, I have the ability to kill you. Release Fushiguro, and if you come back to me, I'll spare your life. So that's pretty exciting. Yuji does have Sakuna seemingly in the palm of his hand right here. I think, as he's saying, he can kill him at any point with the way that his domain works. And then Sakuna is fully enraged as Yuji threatens him, and he says, it seems like you're having a severe misunderstanding. I won't settle for just slicing you into pieces, brat. I'll kill everyone right in front of your eyes that you care about and hold value. And Sakuna is like going crazy here, and this is the end of the chapter. So really exciting stuff here. I'll go way more into what I think is going on here in my full review for the chapter that should be out tomorrow. So subscribe for that if you haven't already. And let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.